I'm Jenny Fish with One Big Happy Yarn Company, and welcome to the Leyla Bag Knit Along. I'm so excited about this knit along. First of all, I want to tell you, if you want to get the yarn and the pattern, we have a kit available at onebighappy.com. And the other thing I also want to shout out right away is this is a collaboration with At Home with Misty Doan on Missouri Star Quilt Company's YouTube channel, where she kind of takes my idea of the bag, takes my bag and adds a little twist, and I'll show you that when we get to it. But I want to let you know in advance, I am so excited that we did this together, and you can check it out as well on her channel. So the Leyla bag, it is knitted, it is mitered squares. Take a moment to show you what we're looking at here. So it's 3 mitered squares and they go together. We have a solid and then we have 2 striped panels. Then once we get it all seamed up, I'll go over how we did this and how we added the handle and all that lovely stuff. But that is it. It is super simple. If you've ever made a mitered square, you've got this. If you haven't, I'm gonna show you how. So let's get started. First, let's talk about some of the supplies. We have the yarn, which we are using the Lori Holt Chunky Thread. It's a number 2, like a sport weight yarn. We will be doubling it for this project, so keep that in mind as well, and I will go over that. We're using a US size 10 knitting needle. I'm using a circular knitting needle. You can use straight needles. I just prefer these. We will be knitting back and forth to make the mitered squares, so this is just my preference, but if you have straight needles, you can use those as well. A couple of other things that we'll be using. Most of the time I just say stitch markers, but in this project I used a round stitch marker, and I also used a locking stitch marker, and I used both of these in the project, so I wanted to go over that with you. Then scissors, tapestry needle, and then a button of your choice. And I used a 1-inch just little decorative button that I had found around the house. So you know, if you've got those, if not, you can check out buttons online as well. So those are the supplies that you need. Don't forget, you can get the kit at onebighappy.com, and the kit will have the yarn and the pattern so that you can make the bag with me. This is the Leyla bag. All right, let's get knitting. So to cast on, we are going to be using our needles and our yarn. Now remember, originally I told you that we're going to be holding it 2-stranded, double 2 at a time, whatever term you want to use. But we'll be holding 2 pieces or 2 strands of yarn. On this yarn, I pulled from the outside when I grabbed these. This is some of my yarn that I was using here. And I just get one from here and one from here. Super simple. I just took the label off, found the outside piece, and started working from there. And static electricity. Okay, here we go. You hold them together 2 at a time, just like this. So I have 2 strands, one hand. And I'm gonna pretend now that this is just 1 piece of yarn instead of 2. And then you're gonna cast on 80 stitches. Now, I used the long tail cast on, and I wanted just a quick reminder here of where to find your spot for a long tail cast on. You wrap your yarn around your needle, and I'm going to do this 10 times because I'm casting on 80 stitches. That's quite a lot of stitches. So I'm going to wrap this 10 times. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Find that spot, and then I'm just going to go, there's 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, a little extra. I'd rather have a little extra than not enough. So that gives me a good indication of where I can start my cast on for the long tail. And if you need additional support for the long tail cast on, we do have a stitch support video. I'm going to go ahead and slide this on here and go in my slingshot and cast on. So you'll go ahead and you'll cast on 80 stitches. I'm just going to cast on a few here so that we can get to making this mitered square. We're ready for row 1. Let me show you what we do here. We're going to go ahead and just knit, but keep in mind, in row 1 is where we want to place our stitch marker. So for you, you're going to knit 40 stitches and then place your stitch marker. My little sample here, I'm going to knit to the center and place my stitch marker. For this one, we'll be using the round stitch marker, and we'll just slide it on. I'll show you how we do that. Here it is. I just slide it right on, and then continue knitting all the way across. Another thing, either on this row or the next one, whatever you're whatever you're comfortable with. For me, I want to mark this right away that this is the right side of my work. It may seem kind of silly, but as you go along, because we're working in garter stitch, they both start to look the same. So I am just locking this right in here. Let me show you where I lock that in so you can have a better idea. So this is the cast on area right here, and I'm locking it in to one of the stitches, one of the bumps right there. I will move this up as I go along, but right away I want to keep in mind this is the right side of my work. Then I'm going to go ahead and continue knitting all the way across. Just like that. Then we turn over. Now we're on the wrong side of our work. This will be row 2. And this is where we're going to be doing the decreases for the mitered square. So I have an example here for this mitered square that I really want to kind of give you an idea of how this works. This is our cast on. This is the center. We work here for the right side. Then on the wrong side of your work, you do decreases, and what that does is it brings these stitches together here in the middle, and it takes your cast on and brings it out to form the square. Now sometimes they get a little wonky. When you block it, it'll come into a square, but that's why we cast on all of these stitches, and then we work the decreases in the center to bring it up to form the square. And you'll see that as you're knitting along, but I want to give you a visual of what that's gonna look like. So now let me show you how to do the decreases. You're going to knit until you're 2 stitches before the stitch marker. And we're working decreases on both sides of the stitch marker, so that will bring it in and close that up. I have 2 stitches before my stitch marker. I'm going to knit those 2 together. Just like that. So that's where I slide my needle through the 2 stitches. Wrap the yarn around, knit those 2 together. Then I slide my marker, and now the decrease on this side is what's called an SSK. So you slip, slip, knit, slip, slip, but then when you knit these 2 together, see I'm taking my left needle, bringing it through, so my right needle is in the back, and I'm wrapping that yarn around just like that. So I want to show you that again. I'm putting those back into place because when I'm slipping them knitwise, they're twisting just a little bit. Slip, slip. Then I have it like this. So my right needle is in the back, my left needle is in the front, wrapping my yarn around and knitting those 2 together through the back loop. So that's the SSK. Then I go ahead and continue knitting on to the end of that row. Now when you're working the center panel, it's all one color. You just continue going back and forth. On the right side, you just knit. On the wrong side, you're doing your decreases. When you're working on the striped version, on the next, you'll do 2 rows of one color, then you'll switch colors, and I want to show you what that looks like as well. Okay, again, my second color, I have 2 strands. I'm pretending that they're one. And I just made a loop and I'm putting it over the needle. So let me go back. I kind of just, it's autopilot for me, so I want to make sure that I back up and show you exactly what we do here. Slide my needle in as if to knit, make a loop, put it over, bring it through, and knit that stitch. Now, as you'll notice, this gets a little loose down here. I can tug on the yarn that I had used, the original yarn, the main color, tug on that, and it'll tighten that stitch up down there. And then I'm going to make sure I don't knit with my tail, knit with my active yarn, and then continue. So this first row is just knit, There's my indicator letting me, my locking stitch marker indicating that I am on the right side. So when I get to this stitch marker, I'm just going to knit. I'm not doing the decreases till I get to the other side of the work. And I'm knitting 2 rows with the contrasting color, the second color. So that's another thing. When you have a project and you'll see in a pattern an MC and a CC, MC is the main color and CC is the contrast color. And for this bag, for this project, the main color is this green because that's the main block is all green. And the contrasting color or the CC color is this raisin color right here. And so that's something sometimes when you're new to reading patterns, you may see that and not understand what that is. So I want to go over that as well because that'll help you along the line as you're reading patterns, not just for this pattern, but also for many other patterns. It's a standard. Okay, so I'm on the wrong side of my work with my contrasting color. Again, we knit to 2 stitches before that stitch marker. And there's the locking stitch markers on the other side, so I know I'm on the wrong side of my work. I'm going to work that decrease, then knit 2 together. Slide my marker, and then an SSK, slip, slip, knit those 2 together through the back loop, knit to the end of the row. Now here is something else I want to show you. Oh, one more stitch. That stitch was really loose because that's where I started. And that yarn tail is not anchored to anything. Feel free to go ahead and adjust your tension for both the stitch below and the stitch above and make it look right because they will get a little wobbly because they're not anchored to anything. Now I'm ready to go back to my main color and I'm going to carry the yarn up the side of my mitered square. I'm not cutting it. I'm just going to continue carrying it. So now I just bring that up and knit. When I get back to this spot and I'm ready to switch to the next color, I'll drop that color, pick up the next one. I always like to see how I'm doing this. I like to transition between the two in the same way. Like I like to bring the new color up from the bottom and start working, and that gives it a nice edge on the side. So continue working your mitered square until you're at the very last 4 stitches, and then I will show you how we finish the top of our mitered square up. So I've gone ahead and knit up to the last 4 stitches, and I want to take a pause to show you how we finish off the top of our mitered square. And it's really simple. It's not anything that we haven't already done, but it does kind of change the direction. We've always been doing all the decreases on the wrong side. On row 77, we're finishing up the tip of our mitered square. We're actually going to do the decrease on the front side to finish it up. And it just kind of helps pull that in together. So we knit 2 together. And again, I'm changing colors because I'm on the right side. I knit 2 together. And then I can take my stitch marker off there. Then an SSK. We've done that before. Then we turn our work. We only have 2 stitches left at this point, and we're simply going to knit those 2 stitches together. It's that simple. Knit those 2 stitches together, and then we have 1 loop left at the top of our work. I pulled that out a little bit. You're going to clip your yarn, and you slide it through that loop, just like that, and it secures it. Now, we will be blocking this and helping it form its shape because it's on the bias. It's really stretchy. And so when we block it, we'll block it out to be a square when we're done. Okay, so here's the finished one. Here's our cast on edge, nice even edge. Here's our decreases right here. So we're gonna make 2 of these. Here's the other one. These are the stripes. Then we make one that's all solids. Now we're going to be adding a handle and the little, let me show you on this one. Here's the handle. We're going to be making this and adding this. And here is the buttonhole flap that's going to come over and close up our bag. So the handle, very simple. You're just going to cast on and knit in garter stitch, which is knit every row until your piece measures about 8 inches. Longer if you want. It's completely your preference on how long you want your handle to be, but keep in mind with this being garter, it stretches. So over time, the more weight you put in the bag, the more it's going to stretch. So I did mine 8 inches and kind of blocked it out. This one I haven't sewn in yet, but just kind of messed with it. And I was like, yeah, 8 inches seems about right, but it will grow over time just because it's the nature of the fabric. Okay, so that is our handle. And then this little guy here is our buttonhole flap that is going to be used to close up our bag. Very simple. You cast on, you knit and garter stitch. You get 6 ridges in 12 rows. And then we're going to be making this buttonhole, and it's a little bit larger. When you go to select your button, you want to make sure that it'll fit through your buttonhole. So any button that you pick out, just slide it right through there to make sure that it's going to work, and then you're also good with that. But let me show you how I made this, because, oh, there we go. It's actually not something I do very often because I wanted this buttonhole to be a little bit bigger. What I'm going to do is knit 3, then I'm going to knit 2 together. Then I'm doing a double yarn over, and that's where I wrap my yarn around twice. Let me show you that again. It's a double yarn over. 1 and 2. So I've got 2 wraps around my needle, and then get my yarn here in order. Knit 2 together, and then knit 3. 1, 2, and 3. Now when I'm coming back around, I also want to show you how I work that double yarn over. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now you can see I've got those 2 wraps on my needle. I'm going to knit the first one like normal, and I'm only going to slide that one off. Then I'm going to come around and I'm going to knit through the back loop of the second yarn over and secure it like that, and then continue knitting. It's simple and intuitive, but it'll throw you off a little bit the first time you see it like that. And if you're like me, a double yarn over isn't really something I come across very often in my knitting. So it just takes a second to go, oh yeah, that's how we do that. Second one, you knit through the back loop to secure it, to keep it from falling off. Then you're just back to regular knitting and you bind off. That is the handle and the buttonhole flap. Let's put this together. Are you ready? Okay, here we go. We're going to take this piece, fold it like that. Take this here. And here, just like that. We're going to go ahead and whip stitch all these pieces together. To whip stitch, we're just going to get some of my yarn here. I like to keep a manageable length of yarn. I don't want like a really crazy long piece. It's okay if you do a little, then add more yarn, do a little, add more yarn. I just like to keep it manageable. Then my tapestry needle, and at this point I did only use 1 strand of yarn. I knit the whole thing with holding 2 strands of yarn together, but for this whip stitch, 1 strand of yarn works perfectly fine. I'm going to grab these 2 points here, and I'm putting them right sides together, so pretty sides together, right sides together, whatever helps you remember that. And I'm just going to whip stitch right across here. to get started, I'm gonna slide my needle in, but I'm gonna leave a little bit of a tail that I'll come back later and weave in. And then I go back and forth. So I like to find that corner there and that corner there to get started, because this is gonna be the center front of my bag. And then you can also put a locking stitch marker in to hold your pieces together to give you an idea, or you can use binder clips to hold it all together. This isn't that long. It's not like a big old blanket or anything, so I'm pretty comfortable with just holding it. Then I go through. I like to go from back to front towards my body because I can kind of control that loop as it goes through. Just like that. Super simple. So I finished seaming the first 2 squares together. Now I want to show you how we add the second side. We're going to open this up and have the right sides facing us. Open this one up, have the right side facing us, and then flip it over so that the right sides are facing each other. Pick up here, and we will seam along here and seam along here, and that'll put the whole bag together. This is what it looks like when it's finished, right here. And then check out this gorgeous lining. If you want to line your bag like this, you can check out Misty's tutorial on Missouri Star Quilt Company's channel, and we'll put a link down below. Misty's going to go in and show you how she lined the amazing Leyla bag with the fabric, and it is amazing and gorgeous, and I absolutely love it. So check that out to add just a little more touch to our bag. If you're not comfortable with that, you can still continue on, and I'm going to show you how we add the handle and the button. Here we go. We finished seaming up our bag. Now I just want to show you, right here is where you add your handle. You just slide that in there, seam it up, and here where I added the buttonhole band, I just pushed these together, whip stitched it, flipped it around, found my spot, sewed my button on. Then we have the finished Leyla bag. There we go. Thank you so much for joining me for the Leyla Bag Knit Along. I really appreciate taking the time to make these mitered squares and having this wonderful everyday bag. I love it. I think it's adorable. Plus, it's just super convenient. You can make tons of these in all kinds of different colors. They make up pretty quickly. You can match every outfit if you want. Don't forget to get a kit at onebighappy.com. The kit has the pattern and all the yarn you need to make the amazing Leyla bag. Thank you so much, and happy knitting.